The Bats flies around Gotham in a retro-inspired ride. Here's your look at McFarlane Toys' Superpowers Batwing, Batman's air combat vehicle. DC Superpowers Batwing, the legacy of the DC Superpowers series from the 80s, continues with a brand new lineup of your favorite heroes and villains in the classic nostalgia series we all love. A unique creation from McFarlane Toys, this Batwing vehicle adds to Batman's lineup of flying vehicles as he traverses Gotham and fights crime. While Batman makes a silhouette in front of the moon, I'd like to thank the folks over at McFarlane Toys. Yes, that did provide this sample of the Batwing from Superpowers that we can have a look at in this review. While Batman never really had a Batwing as part of the original Superpowers line, the coloring of the plastic does actually go rather nicely with the original Superpowers Batmobile, to which I will also be bringing in a second for comparisons. I'd also like to bring in my tape measure just to see how wide the Batwing actually is. From the end of its wing to the end of its wing, let's extend out the tape measure there. The Batwing is exactly 10 inches in width, or to flip this around, you're looking at the vehicle being about 27 centimeters wide. Before we also bring in the Batmobile, one other comparison I certainly did want to make was to slide over the Batwing and bring in the previously looked at Supermobile. I just even like to say that. The Supermobile, not really being more accurate to the original Superpowers one, a Corgi one I believe was also released that had this very similar design. And in this case you can also see as well, the Batwing is quite a bit smaller than the ride that Superman's flying around. One comparison I'm sure you guys would much rather see though is how the Batwing looks like against the Superpowers Batmobile. One that I have never really done a review of simply just because I never had an original Superpowers Batman. It was wrong the fact that I had myself a Batmobile and never really had a Batman or a Robin for that matter that could actually sit inside the vehicle. I did also want to bring this in too because I wanted to show you how close in color the Batwing is to Batmobile. The blue is slightly more purple here on the Batwing, but you can see the way they've done the actual canopy here. It's about the same sort of orange that they would have used here for the front windscreens of the Batmobile. You probably would also want to see what it looks like with a Batman figure. So here's what he looks like, the Batman that is, along with his flying ride. The Batwing is fairly small though, and Batman does fit well in it. Although, like Batman, or like Superman when we looked at before with the Supermobile, you do worry though, at least I worried, that the cape gets a little more wrinkled when you have to sit the character inside the vehicle. To sit him inside, first of all, we can pick up the vehicle itself. It's fairly hollow. It feels quite light. But again, it doesn't really necessarily have to have a whole lot of weight going for it. The wings of the sides of the Batwing do actually fold up. So not only can you have it pretend to look like the actual Batmobile from Batman Beyond, but it also stores away nicely, being able to have the fold-in wings like this. Simply just extend those back out. And they sort of have more of a snapping, or not a ratcheted joint, but certainly when you do fold the wings down, you feel like they do snap well in place. There's a button on the bottom here that will activate the pincer claws here in the front, but I did want to show you guys, though, the canopy here, so we're going to go ahead and open this up first. And inside you can see there's some sticker application, not only for the front, but also the side controls. Those were already applied, so you don't have, if you're somebody that's bad with stickers. I used to be really good with stickers, then I've started to get really sloppy the older I've gotten, but the stickers were already applied on both the sides and also in the middle there as well. There's a tiny little bat symbol steering wheel, and I think that's kind of cool, the fact that they would have done that. But anyways, you just take yourself your Batman figure. You already know how I'm going to be going with this. Just fold his legs, and then we just want to bring his arms up just a little bit, and then do your best to sort of tuck the cape inside because you don't really want to get that all wrinkly. You want to have Batman far enough also sitting inside the vehicle, so then when you are closing the canopy, it's not to be closing on top of Batman's poor head. That's what Batman looks like inside the vehicle. Some sticker application here is also on the top, but this sticker application also helps to pop the canopy up, so you don't have to fish this off all the time. You just simply press the button on the top here. It works really the same way also as the Supermobile. The Supermobile had the symbol here on the front of the Superman logo. You press that, and it did the exact same thing. Also here on the side, you've got a couple of Gatling guns here. Doesn't look like it's necessarily painted, rather molded instead in gray plastic. There's really no other sticker applications other than the controls on the inside and of course the bat symbol here on the top. But overall, it's a nice looking vehicle. It's fairly, again, quite light, but it doesn't have to be necessarily very heavy either. On the back, you've also got his thruster. Now, it would have been nice if they could have actually had a little thruster piece that could have maybe either ejected out the back of this or something you could have plugged in there as well, or even just a big orange sticker would have been fine as well. There is also the black wings there on the top, which is a little bit different of a departure of color. And then, of course, on the bottom of it, the main function feature of this is there's a little trigger button on the back here. The trigger actually holds quite well, or it lines quite well to your finger. So when you are flying it around, you can actually hold it as if you're firing almost a pistol. You press the button on the top, or press the button, I should say, on the bottom. And when you do that, it actually pinces the front. Tiny little pincers actually come out the front of the Batmobile, or the Batwing vehicle, grabbing either the Joker or any one of the other superpowers figures from the line. I think it's fun. Obviously, it's spring, so as soon as you let it go, it's going to retract back to the inside of it. And you almost don't even see that it's there. Just other little bit of indications of the gray plastic. Again, I just wanted to put this one down here for 1 second. Let's just reach off to the side and bring in the Batmobile again. Batmobile is one of my prized collections. I would say of my favorite things that I have in my collection, the Batmobile is pretty high on that list. I would say even making the top 5. It was always a vehicle I wanted to have as a kid. I ended up picking it up, but again, ironically enough, I never had a Batman, nor did I have a Robin to sit inside of it. But I did want to show you again, like the colors are pretty close on this. The blues you could say are, again, a slight darker shade here on the Batwing than it is on the Batmobile. But even the color of the canopies match that quite well as well. Again, I probably could easily take also Batman. Let's pop the canopy out just to guys show you what it looks like with Batman sitting inside the Batmobile. Some would say it's blasphemous, the fact that you're even taking a newer figure and sitting inside the Batmobile. But you can do it. The cape gets a little more tight for quarters, but Batman can actually sit inside his classic ride as well. One thing I did also want to show you for the box here of the Batwing, which will involve me, of course, moving the vehicle out of the way for just one moment. I did want to bring in the box. And the reasoning why I did want to bring in also the box, just to bring up the camera here, is I did also want to show you guys the boxes for the other vehicles. To bring in then the Bat Supermobile, just going to move the Supermobile here to the side. I wanted to show you like that not only is the packaging quite similar, obviously, to the Supermobile, but also, if you happen to have yourself the original Batmobile box, it's also almost quite identical to the original Batmobile box. The only thing obviously overlooked here is the action feature being displayed. I wish they could have done something similar to what they did here with the Bat. You know what, let's just move this. Here's the Supermobile box. And we'll just move that out of the way because I'm sure you guys will most want to see what the Batmobile box looks like. And then what the Batwing box looks like. Again, like the only thing that's really overlooked here in this case is when we look at the original Batmobile from Superpowers, they had the characters sitting inside the vehicle. They also had a feature shown here in the front of the vehicle, showing you exactly one of the things that the toy is able to do. And that is, at least in this case, knocking the Joker off his keister. I wish they could have done something similar to that. The thing about the box itself, though, is that there's no other real characters that came out, I think, at the time of this vehicle coming out. There was only the Darkseid, there was only the Superman, there was only the Batman. So there would have really not been a case or an opportunity to put in the action feature shown here in the box. But what I do like, at least, is that when you do compare the two, short of maybe this being a lot more yellow and this being a lot more orange, the boxes are almost identical to one another. Though a bit more simpler both in its design and its construction, the Batwing, if you were to compare it, say, to the Supermobile or even the more retro Batmobile, is a fairly light vehicle. It's fairly hollow, and you can tell like the main body of it would have been only essentially 2 shells of plastic put together. And yet, it still nicely replicates the same design aspects of the way the original Batmobile was. The colors of the blue aren't quite the same, but I do think that it's close enough that if you were to put them on the shelf together, you would almost be able to mistake yourself to think that they were part of the original toy line. I also like the way that they've used the same orange canopy, and I do like similar to the Supermobile, how there is a button on the front of the canopy that does pop it up. Also, if you're one that likes features on your vehicles, this one does have a pincer claw. And though we don't unfortunately have ourselves yet a Superpowers Joker to be grabbing in the sky, I do think that at some point we are probably going to be getting the Clown Prince of Crime as a Superpowers figure. And I certainly hope so, because I still have the original Superpowers figure sealed away. He's never going to be getting opened up. Maybe at some point I might find myself to be reviewing the original Superpowers Batmobile. Again, the problem is I don't have the original Superpowers Batman. I could use this one as a stand-in for now, but at some point eventually I would like to get myself some more of the classic Superpowers figures, and maybe even eventually having a look at the Superpowers Batmobile here on this channel. If that's something you guys would certainly like to see, let me know down below in the comments section. And overall, what you guys think of the Batwing. Again, it's a fairly light vehicle, but it does execute what I think to be a very retro-inspired toy. Certainly as well, I'd like to thank the folks over at McFarlane Toys that did provide this sample of the Batwing that we can have a look at in this video. Speaking though of vehicles, speaking of videos of vehicles, if you did enjoy this video of a vehicle, make sure you hit it with a like. If you're loving the content you guys are seeing and do want to certainly stick around for more, then make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and turn on the bell notification. And as always guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.